And the material world is designed to make you realize, actually, I'm not meant to be here. Then Krishna says, you'll be able to, Sarva Durgani, all obstacles, you'll be able to overcome them. And without the blink of an eyelid, someone stood up and said, marriage. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Raja Jana Yashodanandana Raja Jana Yamuna Tira Yamuna Tira Nagachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Gopi Jana Vallabha Yashodanandana Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sudhadevi Pranamami Hari Priya Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, everyone. So thank you so much for coming. So the topic today is difficulties, distress, disappointments in life. And how do we become free from the frustration that comes with all the obstacles that we encounter in our lives? So we turn to the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita is a book you can turn to again and again. We tell people the Bhagavad Gita is not just the spare wheel that you take out when your tire gets punctured, but it's the steering wheel which you should hold at all times to guide your life and to navigate this world. And so, in all situations, we can go to the Bhagavad Gita. Is this okay? Feedback. Otherwise, it sounds like the Akashvani, you know. Too much feedback. Is that okay? Does that sound all right? Yeah. So when we're successful, then we can turn to the Bhagavad Gita, and the Bhagavad Gita keeps us humble. When we are confused, then we can go to the Bhagavad Gita, and the Gita will give you answers. When you feel hopeless, then you can go to the Bhagavad Gita, and the Bhagavad Gita will give you strength. And therefore, the Bhagavad Gita is a book you can turn to again and again and again. It's the best of all knowledge. Now we just celebrated Gita Jayanti. The commentator Shankaracharya, he says that the Vedas are like a forest, many, many trees. But he said, if the Vedas are like a forest, then the Upanishads, they are like the flowers that the forest produces. And he says, if the Upanishads are the flowers, then the Bhagavad Gita is like a garland of the best flowers put together in the most choice arrangement. And therefore, even Lord Shiva says the same thing to Parvati. Sarvo Panishado Gavo Dogda Go Palanandana Vatsapartha Sudhir Bhokta Dugdam Gitam Ritam Mahat. Says if you want to compare all the Upanishads, Sarva Panishado, then compare it, Gavo, to a cow. And if all the Upanishads are compared to a cow, Artha Vatsa Sudhir Bhokta, there's a Vatsa, there's a calf. And that calf is taking from the cow. And who is that calf? Partha, Arjun. Gopalanandana. And who is the Dugda? Who is the one who is milking the cow? That's Krishna. And what is the milk? Dugdam, Gitam, Retam, Mahat. The Bhagavad Gita is the milk. So a cow exists to give milk. Therefore, all the Upanishads, if they are to be compared to a cow, then the Bhagavad Gita is the milk. And therefore, this is the book that we turn to for all answers. And it takes us back to Krishna. He said that the Ganga came many, many yugas ago, and it washed the feet of the Lord, and then it came into this universe. And therefore, anyone who bathes in the Ganga, with that flow of the Ganga, they will go back to the feet of the Lord, because that's where it came from. But it's said that the same Ganga, which came from the feet of the Lord, that same Ganga came in Dwapara Yuga from the mouth of the Lord, in the form of the Bhagavad Gita. And therefore, just like if you bathe in the Ganga river, then it flows and takes you all the way back to the lotus feet of Krishna. If you bathe in the words of the Bhagavad Gita, then it will take you straight back to the smiling face of Krishna. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he gives an extra commentary and he says the same Ganga came down again in Kali Yuga. You know where? The same Ganga which came from the feet of the Lord, that same Ganga came from the mouth of the Lord in the form of the Gita, and that same Ganga came from the eyes of the Lord in Kali Yuga in the form of the tears which are falling from the eyes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And therefore, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sings the Maha Mantra and he cries in ecstasy, if someone bathes in that ocean of Harinam Sankirtan, then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says they will go all the way back to the heart of the Lord. So the Ganga is available in many, many forms. And one of the forms in which the Ganga is available is through the Bhagavad Gita. So therefore, we should try to bathe in the words of the Gita every single day. Again, Shiva says the same thing to Parvati. Maline moshanam pumsham jalashnanam dine dine Gita shakrit bhashishtanam samsara malanashanam. That just as you take a bath with water every day to cleanse the body, similarly, Sakrit Gita Mitam Shnanam, you should take a bath in the words of the Gita. So that's what we're doing today. And today, I won't speak for too long because I know you always have lots of questions. So I'll share a few thoughts with you about difficulties, about obstacles, about distress. How do we deal with this? How do we become de-stressed from the distress? So today I'll read from the 18th chapter of the Gita. These are the final things that Krishna wants to share with Arjuna. Krishna has been telling Arjuna so many things, but now it comes to the final few verses. And in the 58th verse, just 7 or 8 verses before Krishna says, I'm done now, nothing more to say. Krishna tells this to Arjuna. Machita sarva durgani maprasadat parishashi athachetvam ahankara nashroshasi vinamshasi. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Translation. If you become conscious of me, you will pass over all the obstacles of conditioned life by my grace. If, however, you do not work in such consciousness of me, but act through false ego, not hearing me, you will be lost. Purport. A person in full Krishna consciousness is not unduly anxious about executing the duties of his existence. The foolish cannot understand this great freedom from all anxiety. For one who acts in Krishna consciousness, Lord Krishna becomes the most intimate friend. He always looks after his friend's comfort, and he gives himself to his friend, who is so devotedly engaged, working 24 hours a day to please the Lord. Therefore, no one should be carried away by the false ego of the bodily concept of life. One should not falsely think himself independent of the laws of material nature or free to act. He is already under strict material laws. But as soon as he acts in Krishna consciousness, he is liberated, free from the material perplexities. One should note very carefully that one who is not active in Krishna consciousness is losing himself in the material whirlpool, in the ocean of birth and death. no conditioned soul, actually knows what is to be done and what is not to be done. But a person who acts in Krishna consciousness is free to act, because everything is prompted by Krishna from within and confirmed by the spiritual master. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. When Srila Prabhupada writes his purports, he's not simply writing from a theoretical perspective. Because perhaps who could say they had more obstacles in their life than Srila Prabhupada? Isn't it? Sometimes I think Srila Prabhupada's life was specifically engineered by Krishna so that we would have no more excuses. Because if someone says, no, I can't serve Krishna because I'm too old, well, I'm sorry, Srila Prabhupada was 69, 70 when he came. If someone says, no, I cannot serve Krishna because I'm sick, well, sorry, Srila Prabhupada had 2 heart attacks on the way to America. If one says, no, I cannot serve Krishna because I don't have good association, well, I'm sorry, Srila Prabhupada came all alone. And he said, when I came off the ship, I didn't know whether to go left or right. If someone says, I can't do Krishna consciousness because I don't have material security, sorry, Srila Prabhupada came and he only had $40, 40 rupees. $40 a lot. 40 rupees in his pocket. No money. So then you begin to think, okay, maybe I don't have any excuses anymore. Srila Prabhupada faced every obstacle that one could conceivably encounter in their life. Yet what he's explaining here is that if you allow your life to be dictated, guided by Krishna, if you're guided by the words of Krishna, prompted from within and advised by the spiritual teachers, then Krishna says you'll be able to, Sarva Durgani, all obstacles, you'll be able to overcome them. So we look at our lives and we feel there are many obstacles, isn't it? Financial problem, career problem, relationship problem, health problem, so many problems. And just when you've solved one problem, another one comes up. Once Prabhupada was driving and he was in a car and they got stuck in a traffic jam. And then Prabhupada looked out of the window and there was a sign and it said, roadworks, temporary inconvenience, permanent solutions. So Prabhupada looked at the sign and he started laughing and he said, the material world means temporary solutions, permanent inconvenience. Because it doesn't matter what you do. Whatever you try to do to try to normalize the situation of the material world, it will never work. Because the material world is designed to make you uncomfortable. The material world is designed to make you realize, I'm not the enjoyer. The material world is designed to make you realize, I'm not the controller. And the material world is designed to make you realize, actually, I'm not meant to be here. And so, the first thing, if you want to overcome obstacles, obstacles are not the obstacles. The first obstacle is that we think obstacles won't come. This is the obstacle. A devotee, when they read the Bhagavad Gita, when they read Krishna's instructions, The first thing is they realize material world means obstacles will come. The first reason why we get frustrated when obstacles come in our life is because we have an unrealistic expectation that obstacles shouldn't come. Isn't it? Shastra tells us, Adidevika, miseries from nature, Adibhautika, miseries from other living entities, Adhyatmika, miseries from your own body and mind. But in our mind, we think, yes, there's Adidevika, but it will happen in another country. Yes, Adibhautika, miseries from the people around you, but that happens in other people's families, not in mine. And Adhyatmika, yes, problems with the body and mind, this is part of the material world, but someone else's life. It's amazing how we have such an unrealistic expectation that obstacles shouldn't come in our life. Put your hand up if when an obstacle comes in your life, you feel shocked. All of us. Why? How could that happen? It's amazing. When someone passes away, it's like no matter how much we understand that everyone has to die, when someone actually dies, it's almost like we become shocked that this happened. When we're reading it every single day, that this is the Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityur dhruvam janma mritasya cha. For one who has taken birth, death is sure. And for one who has died, they will be born again. Yet we become shocked. So the first thing is that a devotee realizes obstacles are not the obstacles. The first obstacle is the unrealistic expectation that obstacles won't come in my life. Therefore, a devotee is ready. A devotee realizes, it's coming. It's just around the corner. It's just a matter of time. My time will also come. The obstacles are going to come. The problems are going to come. And when we are prepared for it, because we have been reading what Krishna says, then it doesn't bewilder us as much. The second problem is that we think obstacles are bad. Of course obstacles are bad. They're in your way. But actually, a devotee, as they become deeper and deeper, then they realize obstacles are not bad. Because there are so many gifts that come from obstacles. Actually, if you look in your life, at the times in which you develop the most, generally it's not in good times. Generally, it's in difficult times. They say a smooth sea never made a good sailor. A rough sea makes a good sailor. And therefore, if one is wise, then one will see that every time an obstacle, a difficulty, an unexpected occurrence happens in their life that they didn't necessarily want, it will bring a great gift. One Christian monk says, God, I prayed to you for love, and you just kept sending me people who needed help. I prayed to you for strength, and you just kept sending me obstacles. I prayed to you for wisdom, and you just kept arranging problems to solve. And then he looks at God and he says, God, now I can see you gave me everything I needed, but nothing that I wanted. When obstacles come, the first thing that happens is it reveals other opportunities. Do you know why Krishna puts an obstacle on your path? Because he wants you to look in another direction. But what we do is, instead of looking in another direction, we keep looking at that obstacle saying, why is that there? Why is that there? When Krishna blocked one path, because he wants to direct you to look in another direction where there is a much greater opportunity. Therefore, one of the gifts of obstacles is they reveal newer opportunities in your life. Another gift of obstacles is that they upgrade your inner character and your inner life. Just like if you go to the gym and you want to build muscles, then there has to be some resistance. You can't lift a HB pencil and say, I'm doing it. I did 100 repetitions. Yeah, very good. But there's no resistance. No resistance, no muscle. So therefore, if you want to develop your inner muscle, your inner character, your tolerance, your humility, then you need some resistance. You need some provocation. You need some level of unexpected difficulty. And through that, your inner character gets upgraded. So like this, we could go on and on. There are so many gifts which come from obstacles. And therefore, what we tell people is that not everything in life that happens is good. But something good can come from everything that happens in life. Maybe you will not be able to see every adversity in your life as an opportunity. But maybe you can try to find some opportunity in every adversity. And so a devotee is expert at doing that. And then when you go through difficult times, when you go through obstacles, when you go through challenges, because you've identified something good which comes from it, it doesn't affect you in the same way. But obstacles, they become very, very heavy on one's consciousness when we don't develop from those obstacles, when we don't improve. And so, the second thing we should realize is that obstacles are not bad. And the third thing is what Krishna is saying in this verse, that obstacles are not insurmountable. One of the reasons why we become so bewildered when we come up against obstacles in our life is because we feel, I cannot overcome this. Yes, you may not be able to overcome it. But Krishna says, Majjita Sarva Durgani, if you become conscious of me, then you can overcome all the obstacles of conditioned life. And therefore, they say, don't look up at God and tell God how big your problems are. But rather, look at your problems and tell them how big God is. Because with the power of Krishna, with the strength of Krishna, with the blessings of Krishna, you can deal with anything. And the proof is the life of the great devotees. They could undergo so many obstacles, so many difficulties, without being bewildered, without being deviated, because they were Krishna conscious. And so, as we look at the topic of obstacles and distress, then when we're looking at obstacles in our life, realize that obstacles are not the obstacles. The first obstacle is the mentality that obstacles shouldn't come. The second obstacle is the mentality that obstacles are bad. And the third obstacle is the mentality that obstacles are insurmountable. Once you have adjusted these three equations, once you have removed these three misconceptions, then you move from distress to becoming de-stressed. No more stress. It doesn't hold any grip on you anymore. And the final thing that we learn about obstacles is that obstacles are all temporary. Once a king, he told all of his subjects, I want you to give me something that will make me happy when I'm sad, and sad when I'm happy. Once I told this to a group, and without the blink of an eyelid, someone stood up and said, marriage. I said, you said it, not me. It wasn't marriage. So no one had the answer. Everyone was baffled. What to give someone that will make them happy when they're sad and sad when they're happy? Then one person came to the king and he said, I got something. So he gave the king a box. So the king said, how is this going to make me happy when I'm sad and sad when I'm happy? He said, open it. He opened the box and there was a ring. So the king said, how is this? He said, read it. And on the ring there were 4 words. This too shall pass. When you're happy, relax. This too shall pass. And when you're sad, when there's an obstacle, when there's a difficulty, relax. This too shall pass. Matra sparshas tukonteya sitoshna sukadukada agama paino nityas tamstutiksha shvabharata. Krishna gave the formula already thousands of years ago. As the winter and summer seasons come cyclically, so happiness and distress come cyclically. Yes, there's an obstacle, and then there'll be a solution. And then you know what? There'll be another obstacle, and there'll be a solution. And like this, life is full of ups and downs. But that's life. You are doctors, you know better than me. If an ECG is flat, it's not good news. It has to be up and down. Flat means finito. So, therefore life means ups and downs, difficulties. But a devotee knows how to navigate it. So therefore, next time you face an obstacle and you become bewildered by it, ask yourself the question, which misconception have I not corrected? Maybe it's the misconception that obstacles I thought wouldn't come to me. You need to get rid of that one. Maybe it's the misconception that obstacles are bad. You need to get rid of that one. Because obstacles are drawing out your greatest potential. And if you become frustrated, bewildered, dejected, feeling hopeless, then maybe we haven't corrected the misconception that obstacles are insurmountable. Because if you become Krishna conscious, Krishna says here, I will dictate everything to you in terms of how to overcome all these obstacles. And therefore, there's no reason to be distressed. One English poet says, in the material world, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Pain is inevitable. There will be obstacles, there will be difficulties. That equation you can't correct. Because Krishna already said, Mamupetya punarjanma dukhalayam ashashvatam. Pain is inevitable. It's coming. It's round the corner. Don't think it's not there. You can bury your head in the sand as much as you want. It's coming. But suffering is optional. And you suffer when you think the pain, it wasn't meant to come to me. You suffer when you think the pain, there's nothing good, this is bad. And you suffer when you think the pain, I'll never be able to survive this. Those are 3 big misconceptions. And once we correct that, then Krishna says, Dukeshvanu digna manaha, sukeshu vigataspraha, vittaraga bhaya krodha, stitadhir muni ruchyate. Then you become a sage of the steady mind. Would you like to become a sage of the steady mind? The sage of the steady mind, it doesn't matter whether there's the greatest difficulty or reason to be elated. They're free from fear, attachment, and anger. And in that way, all the waves of the material world no longer affect them. So therefore, just like good things come to us, I often do this exercise with people. I ask them, tell the person next to you something that happened to you in the last week that you didn't deserve. And then I ask for feedback. And someone says, someone shouted at me, I got a parking ticket, I lost my keys, I got accused of something I didn't do. The interesting thing is, nobody comes up with anything good. Because all the bad things, I didn't deserve that. But all the good things clearly is, part of my, piety and, I deserve that clearly. There was a famous Wimbledon tennis player, Arthur Ashe. You heard his name? In 1983, he had a surgery. And in that surgery, they made a mistake. And he got infected with AIDS. The doctors made a mistake, got infected with some blood infection. And so he was dying from AIDS. So all of his thousands of fans began writing in letters. And one of his fans wrote in a letter and said, why did God do this to you? And you know what? He wrote a letter back to that fan. He said, 500,000 people attempt to start playing tennis. Of those, 50,000 learn professional tennis. Of those, 5,000 get to the tennis circuit. Of those, 500 make it to the Grand Slam. And of those, 50 make it to Wimbledon. And of those, 2 make it to the final. And of those, 1 wins Wimbledon. He said, I won Wimbledon. And when I was holding the cup, I didn't look up at God and say, why me? So if I didn't look up at God at that point and say, why me? Then why should I look up at God now? I'm in this situation and ask, why me? Because Krishna knows exactly what we need, in exactly what measure, at exactly what time. And therefore, no one can be more clever than Krishna. No one can be engineering our life in a better way than Krishna. And therefore, everything that happens, the good, the bad, and the seemingly ugly, is all part of Krishna's master plan to get us out of this world back to where we're meant to be. So therefore, Krishna says, Majjita, become conscious of me, Sarva Durgani, and you will overcome all obstacles by my grace. Atachetvam ahankaran, but if you act out of false ego, thinking you know better, trying to do it by yourself, nashroshasi, not hearing me, vinamshasi, then you will be lost. Therefore, if you want to go from distress to de-stress, it just means we have to adjust our vision of obstacles. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thank you very much. So these were some thoughts on obstacles, difficulties, disappointments, and how we try to deal with these things in an appropriate way. So,
you mentioned the word 214, happiness and distress. I think I've got two questions for that. I can understand the concept of tolerating distress. Why happiness? When it comes to be.
So why does Krishna say we have to tolerate happiness? You know, when you go India, you know better than me. So when you go for shopping in India, then you have to know the art, isn't it? So when you go in the shop in India, then you want to buy something, then you go to the shopkeeper. Yes, for you, no profit, 1,000 rupees. So now what we do when we're from London is we immediately calculate 1,000 rupees. That's 10 pounds. That's a bargain. Okay, do it. And then someone who's experienced said, oh, relax. Then you have to say, no, man, sadhu, for the temple. Okay, 800 rupees. Nay, too high, go low. 700, okay. Then you have to start walking out of the shop. No. Okay, 600. No. Finally, when it's about 25% of the initial price, then you realize this is the real price. You say, okay, chalo. So, along the journey of life, you get many things which seem to be happiness. But if you're wise, then you will tolerate those types of happiness because you will realize that's not the real happiness. If I want the real happiness, then I should wait. I should wait to get spiritual happiness. There is a difference between sukha and anand. Sukha means material type of happiness which you can get quite quickly. But Krishna says tolerate it. Because if you tolerate sukha, then later on you can get bliss. Therefore, don't do the calculations and think, no, this is good deal. I'm getting some fame. Take it while it's there. No, relax. This is not the real thing. Someone may glorify you. That's not the real thing. Tolerate it. You may get some position. That's not the real thing. Tolerate it. You may come to bhakti. Krishna may provide so many material facilities. Don't get bewildered. It's not the real thing. Tolerate it. Keep going until you find pure love in your heart. Because that love will give you anand. Prem ananda sukhi. Ha Prabhu, Nityananda, Prem ananda sukhi. So we want to experience Premananda. Does that make sense? Was there a second question? Or you have Anand now, you don't need.
I think the second question is the word tolerance. How do we kind of perceive that word? We put up with it.
Tolerance means that we don't allow our emotions to become bewildered by something. It doesn't mean you don't feel, it doesn't mean you become hard-hearted, it doesn't mean you're just cold. But tolerance means you don't allow yourself to become bewildered by it. Isn't it? The problem is we become so emotionally overwhelmed by situations to an extent that later on it debilitates us and it makes us dysfunctional. Therefore, to tolerate means that not that you don't feel something, but it means that you don't allow that feeling to become so overwhelming that it blocks your intelligence and it renders you dysfunctional. In the beginning of the Kurukshetra, Arjuna was crying, I don't want to fight. And he put his Gandiva bow down. Krishna told him, don't lament for the living nor for the dead. The soul is eternal. 10 days into the war, his son, Abhimanyu, was killed. Arjuna went to that point in the battlefield, that place. And as soon as Arjuna saw his son dead, he cried again. Now Krishna didn't tap him on the shoulder and say, hey, Najayate mriyate va kadachin nayam bhutva bhavitavana bhuyaha asochanan vasochastvam. Why are you lamenting? No, Krishna said, you have to. It's your son. Doesn't mean now you have philosophy, you don't have any feeling anymore. But what did Arjuna do after he grieved for his son, which is very natural? In the very next moment, he picked up his Gandiva bow and he carried on fighting. That's the difference. So tolerance doesn't mean that you don't have feeling. But tolerance means you don't allow yourself to become overwhelmed and debilitated by emotions. Okay. Thank you. Yes. Yes.
In terms of acceptance, we need to have some sort of discernment, right? Because there are things that we can change. And also, I know that when you mentioned about these obstacles, in a way we should be grateful because those are opportunities where we can grow. But there is also evil in our life, right? So they can try to put all these obstacles. So what should we do? We should not fight to change it or just like be complete like surrender and just like accept everything and just be kind of like a boxing sack or something like this. So is that element of discernment, is that element of a fight with evil, or how does it go?
Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you for raising these points because they allow us to fine-tune our understanding. So the first thing is, yes, there is evil in the world. Remember I said, not everything that happens is good, but something good can come from everything that happens. And so even in the evil of this world, a devotee knows how to make something good come from that situation. Srila Prabhupada once said to Giriraj Maharaj, an expert businessman or business lady knows how to make money in all situations. When the market is down, then they buy. And when the market is up, they sell. The market may go up or down, doesn't matter. An expert business person knows how to make money in every situation. And therefore, it's not that a devotee now, we become so philosophical that we just lose touch with reality. Yes, there are evil things in the world, but a devotee knows the art of how to utilize that situation to bring about some good. And therefore, yes, that art the devotee learns. And yes, when obstacles come, it's not just that we say, oh, it's an obstacle, it's come. let me just surrender to it and now just deal with it. No, a devotee tries their best. But after trying their best to make the situation as tolerable as possible, whatever remains, whatever they can't change, whatever still persists despite their best efforts, they fully accept as Krishna's plan and embrace it. So what is your karma? Everything that you experience after you've done the best on your part and it still comes. Then you have to understand, Krishna wants me to go through this. But if we don't do our part, if we're irresponsible and we don't take precaution and we don't do our endeavor, then you might find that, your distresses are compounded. So do the best you can. And after doing the best you can, whatever obstacles remains, embrace it fully as Krishna's plan and move on. That's what a devotee does. So, yes, like that. Okay. Yes.
We've heard a lot of the distress that devotees in Bangladesh have suffered, and obviously the mandirs have been attacked, and we've seen that here in Leicester as well. What can we do from a spiritual perspective, obviously other than prayer, to help other people's distress like that?
So what can we do to help people who are in that situation? As you mentioned, of course, devotees are always praying. They're always dedicating their spiritual activities to the well-being of others. This is already very, very powerful. We don't just do that individually, we can do that as a community. We do that as a movement. We pray together for the well-being. Vaishnavas are very, very valuable. Every soul is special. But Vaishnavas are very, very valuable because they are giving so much light to the world. They are the hope for the world, actually. So therefore, we especially pray for the well-being of the Vaishnavas because their presence in the world is holding off the effects, to some extent, of Kali Yuga. And so, especially when Vaishnavas are in danger, then we pray more vigorously for that. What else can we do? The second thing we do is we try to take our own spiritual life more seriously. You see, in the community of Vaishnavas, everyone is gaining strength from everyone else's spiritual practice, actually. And so when you're in a community where there are many, many strong devotees, then everyone else, even if they may not be strong, they are actually benefiting from that spiritual vibrancy. So the second thing we do is we realize that I have such great opportunities. I have been given a relatively peaceful situation, and therefore I should absorb myself even more. And like that, when the collective strength of the spiritual strength of the movement goes up, everyone benefits. Then yes, on a practical level, we do what we can. We speak to governments, we maybe raise voices, we create an awareness, and in practical ways we try to redress injustices that are there. So like this is what we can do. Okay? Yes.
I want to share one live quote, if I may, that was said to me at one point. The quote was, "I've never seen anyone so calm in the face of imminent disaster." And I think one of the things about a medical career is you see a lot of happiness, a lot of distress, but you have to be equipoised. And as devotees, we have to be equipoised. Now, in Bhagavad Gita, we read last Sunday, twice Krishna says, Pravritim cha, Nivritim cha, 16:7, 18:30. Because generally people are distressed because they don't know what to do and they don't know what not to do. So when Krishna starts to speak to Uddhava in Uddhav Gita, then he says, Atmano Guru Atmaiva. So he says to Uddhav that actually the intelligent person observes the happiness and distress amongst others, but due to his intelligence, he learns from the happiness and distress of others. And in so doing, he can correct for himself. And I think one of the most important things we have to do is to learn from every experience how to improve our own Krishna consciousness. Because then Krishna says to Uddhava, in this way, the individual actually becomes their own guru by learning from his happiness and distress of others.
Thank you.
So all is not lost.
Yes. Yes, one big, the world and the universe is one big school. And if we keep our eyes and our ears open, and we become very thoughtful. According to social science, between the ages of 0 and 25, age and wisdom is correlated, which makes sense. Generally, an 18-year-old is wiser than a 12-year-old because between 0 and 25, we learn from education. But the interesting thing social science tells us is between 25 and 75, there's actually very loose correlation between age and wisdom. In other words, a 60-year-old is not necessarily wiser than a 30-year-old. Because after the age of 25, you don't learn through an educational structure. After the age of 25, you learn through experience. But just experience? Experience that's being reflected upon. In other words, those who are the most reflective, those who are the most introspective, those who look at the world and think very deeply, what am I supposed to learn from this? Those who take the time. Prabhupada in the Bhagavatam, he says, a devotee should be as introspective as a non-devotee is speculative. So therefore, those who become very introspective are observing the world, because life is the most powerful, persistent, and profound teacher in our life. It's right there, happening all around us. But we don't learn, we see. That's what Yudhishthira told to Yamaraj when he asked, what's the most amazing thing in the world? And what did Yudhishthira say? Ahani bhutani gachanti hayamalayam sheshasta varamechanti kimascharyam mataparam. What's the most amazing thing in the world? Ahani bhutani. Every single day around me I observe that people are dying. Shesha stavaramichanti, but I think I'm going to live here forever. That means we're observing so many things, but we're not learning. Therefore, Prabhupada said, first class learns by hearing. Second class learns by observing. Third class has to learn by experiencing. And some don't learn from any of them. Madness means to keep doing the same thing again and again and again and again and expect a different result. history repeats itself. So just look around. The Bhagavad Gita is right out there in the world. You'll see it. All the lessons are there. Thank you. Okay,
We'll take this final question.
Thank you very much for your fantastic lecture today. Really simple question, really. We talk about Arjuna and all the knowledge he was given by Krishna, and then later in the Mahabharata, he asked Krishna to recite it again because he's forgotten it. So when you have such a great soul as Arjuna, who can't always keep not Krishna in his heart, but the teachings of Krishna in his heart, what are the key take-home messages you can give us to keep Krishna in our heart?
I don't know that Arjuna said he wanted to hear it again because he had forgotten it. Of course, there is the Anugita that is recited again, which is an elaboration on the teachings. But actually, Arjuna says after the Kurukshetra war, he says in a very beautiful verse, Deshakalartha yuktani rittapo pashamani cha haranti smarataschitam govinda bihitani me. After the whole Kurukshetra has happened and he goes to see Bhishma Dev on the bed of arrows, then what Arjuna actually says is he says, now I am remembering those instructions. Haranti smaratas chittam. Now I am remembering those instructions by Krishna, Desha, Kalartha, Yuktani, which stand true in all times, places and circumstances. And those instructions, Arjuna says, Rittapo Pashamani cha, have the ability to remove the burning lamentation that is within the heart. So actually, in Bhagavatam, we hear that Arjuna remembers what Krishna told him. And Krishna even says in the Gita that one who grasps this knowledge will never again fall into illusion. So the reason why seemingly someone may read the Gita and then again slip into an illusion is because they didn't quite internalize that. But in Arjuna's case, no. He understood, Nasta moha, my illusion is gone. Smriti labdva, I've regained my memory. Tat prasadat mayachyuta, all possible by your grace, Krishna. Stito smi gata sandeha, I'm completely fixed, no more doubts. Karishye vachanam tava, and I'll do, Krishna, whatever you want me to do. So Arjuna came to the point, he realized. But sometimes the great souls, they ask for the instructions to be repeated for the benefit of others. And also because they just want to hear it again, isn't it? Like sometimes a very good devotee will ask a seemingly simple question in class. Not because they don't know, or not because they've somehow forgotten, but just because they want to hear it again, or they want to hear it in a deeper way, to relish it more. Like that. Okay? All right, thank you everyone so much. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.